I'm not sure why everyone seems to give Gen X a bunch of crap when it seems like when we were growing up, we saw and watched things that were for the betterment of mankind to shape us, to form us to be better people. Fast forward to 2025, and common sense is gone. And it's time that we go back to the past to show people how to make sense common again. Stick around. Let's get into this tragedy that took place this week.
Thank you for joining us for this premiere movie presentation of Nabisco Showcase. It is our sincere hope that tonight's drama will encourage those still bluffing it to seek help. Please join Nabisco in supporting Project Literacy US and help us close the book on illiteracy.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Rad. Welcome back to the channel. And today's a little bit of a different video. I don't like to discuss politics or anything on this channel. I like to talk specifically about Gen X memories and things that we grew up with and things that helped shape us. So I'm trying to stay true to how my channel is, and I think at some point we have to put politics aside. And when I get into what I'm going to discuss today, this shouldn't be political. This should just be common sense to where people on the right or the left. And in this instance, it's probably going to be people on the left that are the ones that are screaming about this the most. Actually, they're not screaming about it at all because the mainstream media is not really talking about it. And the people on the right are, and channels like this on YouTube are.
As over in Florida, this trucker takes an illegal left turn on the highway, blocking all the lanes, causing a fatal collision. With the New York Post revealing the crash that killed 3 was caused by an illegal individual. And on the DHS's official reporting on the incident, they stated they attempted to use an official use only access point. And although he had no legal right to be in the country, California still issued him a commercial driver's license operating a 40-ton 18-wheel truck, as he should have been sent home but remained because he was afraid to return to India.
So yeah, I'm not sure how many of you actually knew about that. This channel here, Decoy Voice, he's in California, lived in LA forever, so he's very familiar with what goes on in California. However, this accident took place in Florida, but this individual was given a CDL license from the state of California. Now, at my job, where my warehouse is at across the street, we actually have a truck driving school, and I see these people drive all the time, and learning to drive and the process to go. And then even when we need to hire, because we have our drivers that we have for our pups, which are normal size delivery trucks with the lift gate. But then if you have a CDL driver, that's a whole nother thing. They get paid a lot more money because it is a lot more of a skill in order to get that license. It's not easy to get. And so when I saw this, I couldn't help but remember something that I saw when I was a youth, and I had to do a little bit of research, and I found it. But to this date, my best performing video is the one about the PSAs that we grew up with. So not only did we have PSAs, we had made for TV movies or after school specials. And I remembered this one because I sat and I watched it with my mom. Now, I always have to do this disclaimer for the YouTube illiterate. It's kind of what we're going to talk about today. But I always get the comment from a couple people that state, well, the individuals in that show or whatever were not Gen X. They were boomers, or they were, the silent generation. Okay, it's not what I'm saying. Gen X, 1965 to 1980. I was, I don't even remember how old in 1987. However, us Gen Xers sat down and watched that TV show. So when I refer to Gen X did this, Gen X had this, Gen X learned from this, it's because we were the target audience to watch what I'm about to talk about. So anyway, it's going to be interesting. We'll watch in the future to see what comments we get from that individual that always seems to type that in there. So anyway, let's talk about a movie that I remember watching as a kid, and it's called Bluffing It. Bluffing It centers on Jack Dugan, who's the actor Dennis Weaver. He's a 52-year-old factory foreman in Massachusetts who is functionally illiterate, but has hidden this from his coworkers, children, and most of his family through clever coping mechanisms such as memorizing simple drawings or relying on others to read for him. His wife is aware of the illiteracy and supports him by reading documents or possibly providing written lists and tasks like navigation. So, in the premise of the video, he's a foreman. He's been there a long time. He's been able to get by at a steel mill, and the company wants to automate. Of course, they don't know that he's illiterate, right? So the company wants to automate, put in a lot more robots and stuff like that, and they want to actually give him the promotion, right? So he takes the book, tries to study, but obviously he can't because he can't read. So then he makes a big stink about it to make it seem like he's standing up for the guys in the shop that I'm not going to take this job because I'm against robotics, I'm against automation. And so his crew thinks that they're doing it, that he's doing it for them. So when he does his walk off, it's really he has to not do it because he can't read and he knows he wouldn't get the job anyway, and he doesn't want them to know about it. Now you may be saying, Rad, what's this have to do with this terrible tragedy? I'm not sure if this guy spoke English or not, and I don't. However, there's a lot of videos that have been popping up, mainly YouTube shorts, that talk about how a lot of these truck drivers don't speak English. Now, not speaking English in America is a form of illiteracy, right? And being from Texas, okay, my whole life, I can attest to this. There's people that I know, and this isn't regarding legal or illegal status. This is just regarding people who come over here and don't learn our language. Now, as a white man saying that, that's called racism in 2025. But as always, I like to use actual examples. My mother, as most of you followers that have followed me for a while know, she lives in Ecuador. And when she moved down there, one of the locals, who is her realtor, and he's a friend, he and a couple other people told me before I left, said, your mom needs to learn Spanish. And I said, why? And they said, well, because English isn't our language. We have a lot of you gringos that come over here, and it's not just Americans, it's Canadians, it's even Russians and a lot of other people. You come over here and you expect us to speak your language. Our language is Spanish, it's not English. So if you plan to move down here, you need to learn our language. It's respect, right? Respect for the culture. So growing up in Texas, I've known people that have lived here for decades that still don't know English because they're not made to. There's prompts on everything, hit 1 for English, 2 for Spanish. There's all of this, right? So this isn't to do with the illegal part of it, which if that man was illegal, he shouldn't have been in this country in the first place, let alone been given a license through the state of California for that. So I'm not saying that's Gavin Newsom's fault, but he is the governor, and his government and his people that he has in place are responsible for that. So, like I said, there's people that have lived here for 20, 30 years that don't know a lick of English. And that's fine. However, if you are an individual that requires a skill or has a skill or a trade of driving something around that's 40 to 80,000 pounds, you should know how to speak English. And if you don't know how to speak English, you probably don't know how to read it either. Now, back to this movie, his wife was able to help him out by spelling stuff out big with a map. It says so he would have to look and, it would say west to us, right? But he would just look at the letters and match it up because he couldn't read. So that's what made me think of this. That we learned this in 1987, right? That it was a really big push for literacy, for people to learn how to read. And fast forward to 2025, it's not even a matter about people not reading anymore. It's that they don't even speak the language of the country that they live in. let alone driving something so dangerous, potentially dangerous, and not speaking English. Now, again, this individual that killed these 3 people, he might speak English. However, there are videos of lots of other people, of truck drivers that don't. You can go and look at those yourself. One truck driver talked about just going into the warehouse to take a load out. None of the people in the warehouse spoke English. Now, here's the one thing I will say, and I've always said this. I don't blame the workers. I blame the people who employ them, the owners of the company. I've always said this, whether they're Republican and patriot people and this and that, you are facilitating the problem. When you are knowingly hiring somebody that doesn't speak English and you're putting in this job because you know you're probably skimming their pay and not paying them enough money, as much money as you would pay somebody that is legal and does speak English. So the way to fix this is to not go after necessarily the government people. It's to go after the companies that hire them. Who is the company that he was towing for, right? What company? And I haven't heard that in any of the videos. Yeah, he made a mistake. He messed up. He's going to pay the price for it. But the company that employed him, knowing that he was illegal, they should go after that person, regardless of how much money they give to a campaign, whether it's Democrat or Republican. They need to be held responsible for it to set the precedents so these companies will not go and hire people that they know shouldn't be here and don't speak English. So, interesting enough, in this movie, guess what ultimately winds up happening?
Hello, I need the police. There's been an accident. Hurry!
Greenfield Police, Sergeant Rourke.
Oh, God, there's been an accident on Route 2. My tanker and a car. I got a full load, it could blow.
Where on Route 2?
The exit. Greenfield exit.
Which Greenfield exit?
I don't know. I wanted the West Greenfield, but it wasn't the West Greenfield exit, I don't think.
Mister, look around. Where are you?
I don't know. I don't know.
Are there any signs? Street sign?
Yeah.
What does it say?
I don't know what it says. I can't read. I don't know how to read. Help me, please.
I'm trying.
Crazy, right? I mean, it's crazy that this was basically a 2-hour long PSA that Nabisco, they were the sponsors of it, right? Put out because at the time they felt illiteracy was such a problem in America. And those are the types of things that we grew up with. We had the PSAs, and some of them are crazy. It's 10 o'clock. Do you know when your children are out? It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are at? That one. And then we have the after school specials, a very special program ones. And then we had ones like this. And we learned from that. I remember at the time watching this with my mom, and I think that was would have been 10, I would have been 13, I think. So I'd have been 13, and I remember watching this with my mom saying that I honestly didn't know what illiteracy was. I didn't realize that there were people that didn't know how to read. And she said that in her generation, obviously, it was a lot more prevalent. But things that I see on the news today within our own country, there is segments within inside of certain cities in the U.S. where the illiteracy rate is still really bad. And so it's just kind of crazy again that 2025 we see this type of stuff happening, and we were being shown programs similarly, right? This is obviously somebody that can't read versus somebody that doesn't speak English or somebody that shouldn't be here in the country. Um, all of those last two things shouldn't even matter, right? Within our own country, we should be fixing the illiteracy rate or people uh, being able to read for Americans first, or those people that have come over here legally, help them learn the language, right? I'll end with showing you how this movie ended. Again, I don't know why we don't have things like this for people today because it's just, I guess it's common sense for us because we grew up with stuff like this, and it's completely foreign to younger generations today.
The movie you've just seen is a dramatized account, but the story of a person who can't read is all too real. The Department of Labor says nearly 15 million employed Americans can't read or write well enough to cope in today's fast-moving age. Project Literacy US Plus, the joint public service campaign of ABC and PBS, is focusing on the critical issue of literacy and the workforce. Volunteers, teachers, businesses are helping adults learn. We simply can't afford an illiterate America. If you can help someone else, we need you. If you need reading help, there's someone that can help you. Please call the toll-free literacy hotline, 1-800-228-8813.
Now, Gen X, we should be able to talk about this rationally, right? In the comment section. I know this isn't my typical video, but I do feel like our generation, not just our generation, but I'm speaking for my generation, that we're pretty well equipped to be able to deal with something like this. I think we can all rationalize and we remember how we grew up and the types of stuff that we had. And I'm sure I'm going to catch some crap for this in the comment section. Oh well. Again, don't normally do videos like this, but this one just really bugged me, especially since I'm in the distribution business and I know the types of equipment and stuff that people have to deal with. And, you know, we should hold a higher standard, or at least the law, for these types of positions. So, interested to hear your thoughts. Again, this shouldn't be a Republican or Democrat problem. This is something that I think in your heart of hearts, anybody knows needs to be addressed and addressed properly. And there's ways to do that. So, again, um, if this is something that you like, consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel. They're not always like this. Share it out, drop a comment, let me know your thoughts. And with that said, I appreciate you watching, and I will catch you on the next video. Take care.